The world's youngest independent nation, South Sudan, sits at the brink of war. And if political solutions to the rising tensions are not found fast by the opposing parties, it's feared that the country will descend into yet another civil war. One that would be catastrophic for the civilian population, which is already in dire need of humanitarian assistance. So let's break down what's happening. The government of President Salva Kiir accuses the opposition and their leader, Riek Machar, of colluding with the White Army militia in a 4th March attack on a South Sudan Defense Forces military base in Nasser, Upper Nile State, following clashes between the two forces. Several arrests of Machar's allies, including high-ranking government officials, were made on 5th March, with his house surrounded, essentially placing him under house arrest in the country's capital, Juba. Meanwhile, in Nasser, on 7th March, after several failed evacuation attempts, a senior SSDF commander, Major General Major Dak, and 27 of his soldiers were killed by the White Army.
So Machar is the vice president of South Sudan, and Salva Kiir is the president. So they were both beefing for a long time. Then Machar agreed to take the vice presidency role, but what's happened is Salva Kiir accused him of trying to do what you just heard, put him on house arrest, and so the tensions are already high in South Sudan. So that's one part of the problem. But now we're gonna hear the main part.
News: the United States has revoked all visas held by South Sudanese passport holders. It has also canceled all visa appointments, blocked any visas from being issued, and prohibited anyone from South Sudan from entering the United States. Why? Well, South Sudan's transitional government refused to accept the return of its repatriated citizens in a timely manner, and U.S. efforts to engage diplomatically were rebuffed. Let this serve as a warning to any other country thinking about not accepting the return of its citizens when the U.S. needs to deport them.
So the first situation between Machar and Salva Kiir let you know that the country is already unstable, okay? So now the U.S. has stopped issuing visas and will revoke visas. And even if you're a South Sudanese living in the United States, you need to go back, okay?
Hi guys, I don't know if you've heard, but this news has basically been shaking up the internet this morning. It's official. The United States has sanctioned South Sudan and revoked any visa from being processed to come into the country. So the reason why they've done that is because they decided that they wanted to deport criminals or people or citizens of South Sudan that have been or that don't have the proper document and have been illegal here or have committed a crime. So because of South Sudan refusing to take back these deportees to South Sudan, to their country, their native country, South Sudan has now been sanctioned by the U.S.
So they don't want to take these people back. So in return, South Sudanese students on student visas, there's even a South Sudanese student that is at Duke University. They just lost to Houston. He might be deported back, even if you're on vacation. So imagine you went back to South Sudan to visit your family and you need to come back to the United States, but your visa is now revoked and you will not be able to do that. And I have a video from a young lady, beautiful young lady might I add, who is in America right now with a South Sudanese passport.
So I'm on the news and I see that the United States decides to revoke all visas from South Sudanese passport holders. And now, as South Sudanese people that live here in the United States that are here on a visa, we're sitting up here wondering what happens to us. And the reasoning behind this is because our government decided to not accept any deportations that was coming in and said, no, they cannot come back. So now the rest of everybody else has to face the punishment due to our unstable government. South Sudan is a newer country. It's separated from Sudan in 2011. So Sudan is currently going through a proxy war right now. South Sudan is currently going through tribal conflict that could lead into a war currently right now. That is probably the reason why they weren't accepting anybody coming into the country, because people are already dying in the country as it is. And that's also why people left the country to begin with. And it's just so crazy to me because they always scream, come here the legal way, come here the legal way. People come here in the legal way and things like this happen.
They say come here the legal way and they do. We already know that people are being deported for illegal migration. We all know the migrant crisis. New York City, people sneaking into the country, all of that. Well, these people are legally in the United States, and because South Sudan doesn't want to take them, they now have to go back. Here's the issue that I have with this. They are there legally, okay? They are there legally working. Some of them are in school. Some of them are playing basketball. Some of them are playing on professional teams. All of that. So they did not come into the country illegally. They came into the country legally. But now, because the South Sudanese government doesn't want to play ball in the way that the United States wants them to do it, they're saying, look, we're going to send all of them back. Now, what probably is happening is this also. Somebody mentioned South Sudanese criminals are people that need to be deported for whatever reason, overstaying their visa, and you can have that at any case. Like even in Uganda, you can have an American overstay a visa. I overstayed a visa one time for about a week, but I think you have like 2 weeks you can overstay your visa without being in trouble. So it happens. So now if they need to deport you, they want to deport you, okay? South Sudan is saying no. Even if that person commits a crime in your country, you're gonna keep that person. We're not accepting them back for whatever reason. And so the United States was like, okay, well then all of the people with your passports are going to go back until you change your policy, which is something that I think that they're gonna do. But I don't think that this would happen to another country. I mean, could you imagine this happening in Poland? And don't get me wrong, you have people in Poland that will overstay their visa. People in Luxembourg, people from Canada. That's not gonna happen, all right? It will happen a little bit more likely it happening in an African country that is quote unquote third world. Is it fair? No, but their government should also understand, you know, who they're negotiating with and how bad it hurts their people. And again, their citizens who are over in the United States, sending money back, helping their family out, all of that.
I don't know whether you have heard by now that Marco Rubio announced the intention of the US to revoke all South Sudanese visas. Underline, revoke.
Oh, that is true. Mark Rubio is the one that's the Secretary of State, right?
Underline, revoke visas for all South Sudanese living in the US. First of all, that is abuse of power. Secondly, why is this happening? You know that the US is on this mass deportation exercise, and apparently the South Sudanese is not cooperating in receiving back the people who are supposed to be repatriated back to South Sudan. As a result, Marco Rubio says that South Sudanese government is taking advantage of the US hospitality and so many other things. South Sudanese actions notwithstanding, I don't believe that that is right. Revoking the visas indiscriminately, whether you are working, whether you are there on a tourist visa, whether you went there because of medical reason, that is excessive. And I'm telling you, this is something that can never happen to those Western countries.
While that is true, and I do agree, nobody owes you anything, okay? And we need to really understand it as the Black world, as the African world, as Black people all across the world. Nobody believes that they owe us anything. Okay, it doesn't matter what happened to us as Black people. What people are gonna say is your fault that your people are not working in South Sudan. It's your corruption. You guys didn't invest. You guys didn't put the industries there. You guys didn't take care of your people. You didn't take care of your hospitals. You guys stole the money. That's gonna be the argument of the whites or the arguments of the Americans or whoever else. And do you know what? They would have a point. I get what she's saying, that it's unfair, but nobody owes you anything. If your country generates revenue, if they have money, South Sudan has oil money, hey, it's up to South Sudan to take care of itself. It's up to any African country or any Black community diaspora to take care of yourself. It is not these people's jobs to do that. It's their country. If Uganda wanted to deport me today, for whatever reason, could you say it's an abuse of power? Or what about if it's your house? Could you kick somebody out if you don't want them there? Is it abuse of power? Well, you might think so, but as long as that person has the sovereign right to do so, you don't have much of an argument. You should go and get your own house so you don't get kicked out of nobody else's house. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that goes to effort. And it is messed up because I have South Sudanese friends in different parts of the countries and different parts of Africa. But you know what? They should be in South Sudan, but they can't because of other circumstances that have a lot to do most likely with South Sudan.
These things are always happening to us as Africans. Why? Because we have our own problems.
Yes.
South Sudanese apparently is on the verge of another civil war. That thing we are calling civil war is a negative ethnicity taken on steroids. There are two communities that have been fighting since time immemorial. Those are things that we have to fix, and we cannot blame anybody. The reason why...
There you go. Now, that is more like it. And again, my mom used to always tell me life is not fair. And life is definitely not fair when you're black. Okay? You're black, life is not fair. It's up to us to fix our problems, family. And we're going to have to understand that.
Why we are everywhere as refugees. And if we are not refugees, we are there looking for small jobs because we do not have opportunities in our own country. We cannot blame anybody on that. That one
Absolutely
lies squarely on us. Africans, this is to remind you, we are not wanted. We have never been wanted. We will never be wanted. This is a clarion call to all Africans. I hope that you're going to agree with me. Let us reject any strategy, any idea, any form of economic advancement, any form of progress that requires us to go to another country. We are not wanted. Swahilis have a saying that say, the person who is chasing you out of their house does not ask you to leave directly. We have been shown in more than 1 million ways that we are not wanted. I want to remind you Africans today that we have the second largest continents. We have a lot of arable lands. We have favorable weather. We can fix our continent where we are and live with dignity.
What she's saying is 100% true, and I like how she brought that home. If you want something for your people, it's your job to put it there. Like, we gotta have a mentality and a mindset and stop saying, you know what? It's unfair how they treat us. They didn't give this to us, or we deserve this. Versus, what can we do to give this to our own people? How can we benefit from our own talent? How can we develop our own communities? That's a better way to look at it. Because every group that does this has a better shot. And Africa has all the talent in the world. South Sudanese are talent. Hey, this is something that's going to require sacrifice and ego setting aside to get to the position to where they can reinvest in the country, have peace, have stability, and have development where their people are incentivized to want to be there. If a government cannot incentivize its citizens, the best of your people are always going to leave. I tell you all the time. When I go to Entebbe Airport, I don't know how many young ladies that I see on their way to the Middle East someplace. If it's not the UAE, if it's not Saudi Arabia, and you think about those girls that are going to go possibly clean houses or be, maids or whatever, it's like, oh, would that person be a medical doctor here if that was available, or a nurse here? Would that person be a teacher here, a professor here if they had the opportunity? What would that person become if they just had the resources and the ability to become that, versus going to someplace else and being minimized as just a laborer for Arabs? It's something to think about. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy LC Jackson back at it again with another episode of Fair Use. I'm out.